Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. It is Jackstown. So for today's video, we're going to be doing something that we have done several times on the channel, but it has been a long time, so I felt like we were due to do one of these, and that is a tier list. Now, I love making tier list videos. I think they're fun, a lot of fun, and I felt like because the NFL season is just around the corner, about 2 weeks away, I felt like it would be fitting to do an NFL tier list, and I thought for today we could rank every starting NFL quarterback going into this season. Now, we don't really know for some teams who their starting quarterback will be, or it could really be between two different guys. At some point in the year, they might switch back and forth. So we're gonna go with who we assume will be the starter, and then we're gonna rank them in the tiers that we have here for this list. And we're gonna start with there's elite at the top, which is obviously the cream of the crop, the best in the league. Very good, which is almost cream of the crop, but still among the best in the league. I'd be very excited to have these guys in the very good tier on my team as well. Pretty good, which I would say is average to even above average. You're solid, you're good. And then which I would say is probably below average. And then bad, which is bad. Like, I don't want you on my team. If you were on my team, I would not be happy about it. And of course, this is just my opinion, and let me know your opinions in the comments below. I love to hear your guys' opinions. That's one of the beauties of sports, is that we can all have different opinions. And so we're gonna just rank every NFL quarterback according to my opinion, and we're gonna start with just however the tier list is ordered. It starts with the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, and of course, he's going in the elite tier, obviously, because they just won the Super Bowl last year. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. He clearly proved that age is just a number, because he put up great numbers, led his team all the way to the Super Bowl, proved all the doubters wrong, and he so obviously deserves to be in the elite tier. Next, we have Joe Burrow. Now, this is a tough one because he's only played 9 games before his ACL was torn, but before that, he was really good, but I don't feel like we have big enough sample size yet to determine I don't think he has had a big enough sample size to be in the very good or elite tier. So just for now, I'm gonna put him in pretty good, but I think he will be very good to elite after this season because I think he's really good. All right, Dak Prescott, this one is tough. I think he's close to elite, but I'm gonna put him in very good because, well, he's very good. He puts up great numbers. He hasn't really had too much playoff success. He's only been to the playoffs two times, but hasn't gone to any championship games and hasn't individually been great for longer than a season and a half before he got injured last year. But I could see him moving into elite at some point in his career, maybe this season. But for now, I'm going to go with very good. Next, we have, for the Washington football team, Ryan Fitzpatrick, one of my favorite quarterbacks. He's so exciting. But to be fair, he's just pretty good because there's a lot of excitement, a lot of firepower. He's got a great arm, instant offense, but he can be careless with the ball, does commit a lot of turnovers as well, so there's a lot of good with the bad. But overall, I think he's still a pretty good quarterback. Next, we have another very obvious one, and that is Patrick Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football, and I don't think what happened in the Super Bowl last year should be held too much against him because that Bucs defense was fantastic. I think any quarterback would have had a really tough time dealing with them, and he just won a Super Bowl 2 years ago. He's only 26, puts up incredible numbers. His abilities are unmatched in the league, I think. So I think he's definitely, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the league. So obviously, he's elite. And next we have Tyrod Taylor, who will be starting for the Texans. I feel bad for you Texans fans because they are going to be really bad this upcoming season. Now, Tyrod Taylor is kind of one of those quarterbacks where he's always kind of the replacement level. Like, he's not bad, but he's kind of the guy that you have until you find a better option at quarterback, like last year when he was on the Chargers, and they eventually replaced him with Justin Herbert, even though that was really, Tyrod Taylor punctured his lung. There's going to be theories about what really went down there, but he was replaced by a better quarterback, so he doesn't really have a lot of potential or a high ceiling, but he's going to go in because he's still not bad, but he's just not that exciting and just gives you a decent floor of play, average play, but just isn't going to blow you away by any means. All right, next we have Sam Darnold. Now, Sam Darnold's also going to go in to be honest, the numbers he's put up and his performance, I would say qualifies as bad because he really has struggled as an NFL player, but he was on the Jets, and they were run by maybe the worst coach in the history of the NFL, and that's Adam Gase. So now that he's on the Panthers, he's still young, still has a lot of potential. I think he deserves more time to prove himself, so I'm going to put him in I don't think he deserves to be in bad. Next, we have Jared Goff. Now, Jared Goff is a little unfortunate because a couple years ago, when the Rams got to the Super Bowl, he might have been in that very good category and someone who might have eventually been elite. He was the number 1 overall pick about 5 years ago, but the last 2 years, he's really regressed all the way, up to the point where the Rams kind of gave up on him and felt like Matthew Stafford would be a better option. So, he might have been in pretty good or very good a year or two ago, but I'm just going to put him in because I mean, he can be really annoying with the amount of turnovers he commits, and yeah, it can be tough to watch sometimes, so I don't think he deserves to be higher than Next, we have Zach Wilson. Now, Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence and any other rookie quarterbacks are going to be tough to judge because they obviously haven't played yet, but because we don't really know about Zach Wilson, I'm going to say but I think he can obviously be a star. I mean, he was the 2nd overall pick. We just don't know how the Jets are going to play, if they're going to still be that troubled offense that they were the last couple of years, or if Robert Saleh, as the coach, will turn them around and make Zach Wilson into a good quarterback right away. We just don't know. So we're going to put him in Continuing on with the we have Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes. I don't think he's played better than an quarterback his entire career. I actually think the only reason he's not a bad quarterback is because of his wheels. He's very mobile, obviously. He's a great runner for a quarterback, which is refreshing because for years the Giants had to deal with Eli Manning's lack of mobility, but now they have someone mobile. And I think Danny Dimes, I still think there's a lot of hope for him. I think the Giants look better this year. I think they will be better. I think they have a chance to compete for that division title. And so I think he can make improvements. He's still young, but I don't think he's better than at the moment. Next, we have Kirk Cousins. Now, Kirk Cousins for a long time has been one of those quarterbacks who's kind of been in the standard of average. When you think of an average quarterback, for a while maybe he was above average, but at least the last 2 or 3 years, he's just been kind of the standard or the symbol of mediocrity or just decent. So I think pretty good is right where he belongs. Next, we have Josh Allen. Josh Allen is an elite quarterback. I know he's only had one great year, but last year he really was great. If Aaron Rodgers didn't win the MVP, I probably would have given it to Josh Allen. He was fantastic as a passer and as a runner. He really is that entire offense for the Bills. So I think just because of the value he brings to his team as not just a passer, as not just the leader of that team at quarterback, but also pretty much being the best running back on that team as well, because Devin Singletary and Zach Moss are not a good backfield, okay? The Bills run the ball through Josh Allen, okay? They don't really have any good running backs or even average running backs, I think. Justin Herbert is the closest thing to elite on this list on this list of all the quarterbacks that is not actually elite. I think he's very good. I think he's very close to being elite, but I still want to see a little bit more. They didn't make the playoffs last year. The Chargers didn't make the playoffs. And the reason why I would say Josh Allen's elite over Justin Herbert is because Josh Allen does more as a runner, and the Bills got all the way to the AFC Championship game. But Justin Herbert, in the 15 starts last year, he started week 2, and from then on he was fantastic. Had, I think, the best rookie quarterback season of all time. He's already in very good and very close to elite. I think after this season he definitely could be elite. But for now, we're just going to keep him in very good. Now we have another very good quarterback, and that's Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill, for a long time as the Dolphins quarterback, was just or even bad. Or, well, close to bad. But there were moments where he was bad. But overall, he was kind of But ever since the Titans gave him a chance, he's been fantastic. I think he's definitely a very good quarterback, close to elite, but I don't think he's in that same tier as Mahomes, Brady, and Josh Allen. Next, we have Tua Tagovailoa. Now, Tua hasn't played that much, and I still think there's hope for him. But with the, for a while, I was thinking about putting him in but after thinking about it, we gotta have some bad quarterbacks. So I'm gonna put him in bad because he really was bad last year. And to be honest, the Dolphins were a really good team, and if they had a good quarterback, I think they would have made the playoffs. They missed out on the playoffs because Tua didn't play well and they didn't have good quarterback play. Everyone else kind of stepped up except for him. So I think because he's the reason that they miss the playoffs, I think that qualifies him as bad in my opinion, but he could definitely turn it around. He was just a rookie last year, only played half the season, but for now, I think he's bad. Just for now. Next, we have the MVP, the reigning MVP, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron bleepin' Rodgers, obviously elite. If you don't think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback, you can make the case for Aaron Rodgers, or maybe Tom Brady, or maybe Josh Allen. Well, you know, but it's probably, according to most people, either Mahomes or Rodgers as the best quarterbacks in the league. Aaron Rodgers, just fantastic. I love me some Aaron Rodgers. Obviously elite. Had a comeback year last year after a few years of not being Aaron Rodgers, but he was amazing last year. Obviously won the MVP, so he deserves to clearly be an elite quarterback. Next, we have either Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill. We don't know who's going to start. I actually have a feeling it's going to be Jameis Winston because Taysom Hill is not really a full-time starting quarterback. He's not really a great passer. He's more of a running back, kind of a utility player. So I'm going to assume that Jameis Winston's starting, and I'm going to put him in for now because of the amount of turnovers. But in terms of just raw passing talent, he could definitely be in pretty good or even maybe very good. He will generate a lot of offense, but kind of like Fitzmagic, I'm sorry. He causes a lot of turnovers, but the last couple years last year because he didn't start, I think he's in a tier lower than Fitzmagic, I'm sorry. I keep mispronouncing his name, my bad. So I'm going to keep him in for now, but under Sean Payton, I kind of like his prospect for this season. All right, next we have another really tough one. I thought about putting Kyler Murray in elite, but I don't think he's better than Dak Prescott or Justin Herbert yet. So I'm going to put Kyler Murray as a very good quarterback. I love I think he's so dynamic. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks. I love the way he moves. He's super mobile, obviously. He's got a good arm. He really made a lot of improvements last year, and I really like that. And I think he's only going to get better going into his third season. I really like Kyler Murray's potential to be an elite quarterback, maybe starting this season. So, yeah, a lot of excitement for Kyler Murray. He's already a very good quarterback. Next, we have someone kind of like Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr. I think he's pretty good. I think he's average to maybe a little bit above average, but overall kind of the symbol of decent, solid quarterback play. And you know what you're going to get from Derek Carr. You're going to get not too many mistakes, not too many turnovers, good leadership, good personality to have in the locker room. He'll win. I mean, I don't think he can put a team on his back or carry a team, but he's the type of guy where you're pretty content with having him as your quarterback, so I think he deserves to be pretty good. Next, we have Jalen Hurts. Now, we haven't seen too much of Jalen Hurts. I think as a runner, he's obviously elite, super mobile, got a ton of rushing yards when he started in the games he did start last year. But as a passer, there's still a lot of questions. I think he has a lot of potential, but for now, I'm going to put him in I don't think he's bad, and I don't think he's pretty good yet because he still has a lot of strides to make as a passer, so we're just going to keep him in But like a few other guys in this tier, they could definitely move up because they're still very young and still have a lot of time to make improvements. So next we have Teddy Bridgewater. We thought it was going to be Drew Lock, but today, or the day of making this video, it turns out that Teddy Bridgewater is apparently going to be starting for the Broncos. So he reminds me a lot of Tyrod Taylor, where he's kind of that replacement level quarterback that until you get a better one, he's kind of your guy until you find that better option. They're very similar. They don't have a big ceiling, but they'll give you a good decent floor, but it's not going to be a ton of potential. They're not going to ever be superstar players, but they're going to be fine. So I'm going to put him in F, which is a little below average, but he's not bad. Him and Tyrod Taylor, they're fine. They're not bad. All right, next is Matthew Stafford. Now, Matthew Stafford, obviously, talent-wise, is an elite quarterback. He was the number one pick, but with the situation that he was put in for years, over a decade, which was unfortunately the Lions that did not really supply him with the talent to really showcase his full potential, is why he never really was an elite quarterback. He's shown flashes, but now that he's on the Rams, I think he definitely could translate into an elite quarterback this season. But for now, we're going to put him at very good. I think he's clearly an upgrade over Jared Goff. And I'm actually excited if I'm a Rams fan, knowing that Matthew Stafford is gonna, be a really good guy behind at the quarterback position at the helm. So definitely very good in my opinion. Next we have Andy Dalton / Justin Fields. Now I hope Justin Fields starts because Andy Dalton, unfortunately, is a bad quarterback. I mean, he was pretty good as the Bengals quarterback, but recently, last year as the Cowboys quarterback, and just the last couple of years, last few years overall, he's really declined, isn't mobile at all, kind of throws a decent amount of interceptions, but doesn't throw enough touchdowns or spark enough offense to kind of compensate for that. So I think he's clearly not good. So I'm going to put him in bad, because I don't think I think I think every quarterback other than Tua right now is someone I'd rather have than Andy Dalton. So hopefully Justin Fields gets there, but we need at least a couple guys in the bad tier. I think Andy Dalton's one of the worst right now. Next, we have Russell Wilson, old reliable. He's been the starting quarterback for the Seahawks for over a decade. He's won a Super Bowl. He's consistently so solid, but last year he probably had his best individual season. Did have 40 touchdown passes. Now, if you're just going to talk about the first half of last year, I think he was the MVP. He did kind of regress in the second half, but because he was so good in the first half, he was kind of due for a regression. But overall, had his best season last year. Just so consistent, so reliable, great leader. I think he's definitely an elite quarterback with the resume he's compiled over the last almost decade. So yeah, definitely an elite quarterback. All right, next we have Lamar Jackson. Now, this is someone who was definitely elite coming into last year, but a year can change things. I think his inability to improve as a passer over the last year, in fact, he declined because teams kind of defended him better and made him pass the ball more. Obviously, if we're talking about running, right up there among the best in the league, maybe the best. I mean, his speed, his agility is fantastic, and that's what I think just makes him a really good quarterback, obviously. And then it's not that he's not a capable passer, but he's not a great passer. And to me, if you want to be an elite quarterback, you have to at least be I would say you have to be a very good passer. Come on. I mean, the job of the quarterback is to pass the ball mainly. So I think after his MVP season last year, coming in to last year, he would have been elite. But because of his lack of improvement as a passer, he's very good. But he could move up into elite if he makes those strides. All right, next we have another split situation. It could be Jimmy Garoppolo or it could be Trey Lance starting for the 49ers. But signs point to Jimmy G being the starter week 1. And you know what? I'm just gonna say it. Bad. Jimmy Garoppolo, unfortunately, he's in the lower tier of quarterbacks. First of all, he's always injured. Second of all, he's so immobile, so he's obviously got to be a good passer to compensate, and he's not. So maybe I'm being a little harsh, but at the same time, sometimes you can't be too generous. And I think he's right at that Dalton tier. I'm not excited to have him as the quarterback. And especially with a guy like Trey Lance being behind him, knowing that he obviously has more potential and he's more dynamic, knowing that he's kind of looming right there. Kind of, if I were a 49ers fan, I would kind of automatically rate him lower because you kind of don't want him there. You want him kind of out of there. You want Trey Lance to kind of fill in his shoes that he didn't fill that well. But anyway, so I think the prospect of having Trey Lance behind him and his clear flaws and injuries and lack of one of your best abilities you can have is durability, and the fact that he doesn't have that, combined with his inabilities occasionally as a passer, I think he's in the bad tier. Is he a terrible quarterback? No, but is he lower tier? I think so. Yes. Next, we have Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger is a future Hall of Famer, and he's had a great career. And for the longest time, he was very good to elite. But last year, he seemed to start slowing down towards the end, and Father Time was kind of catching up with him. But I'm still going to put him in pretty good. I think he's still a capable passer. I just think he's been used so much, and he's just, I feel like they got to kind of mellow his usage down a little bit. But in spurts, and if you don't use him too much, if you don't abuse his arm, I think he still is very capable, so I'm going to put him in pretty good. Next, we have another guy who once upon a time was higher than pretty good, but is still, right now, unfortunately, is just pretty good. Matt Ryan was once elite because he won an MVP, and I would say once very good, but he's obviously super immobile. But as a passer, he hasn't compensated for that fully because he does make a lot of mistakes, throws a lot of interceptions, and kind of unfortunately chokes in big situations, melts down a little bit. So I think he deserves to just be in pretty good. Next is Carson Wentz. Now, for a long time, not for a long time, but at some point he was very good, maybe even elite, especially if he actually won that MVP that year before he got injured. But after a really horrible year last year, I'm just going to put him in but that could definitely improve. I think he's in a better situation now with the Colts, obviously, back with his old offensive coordinator in Frank Reich. Once he gets healthy, I'm not sure if he'll play week 1, but once he's healthy and under that Colts system, I could definitely see him moving up a tier. Next, we have Cam Newton / Mac Jones. Cam Newton played like a bad quarterback last year, but he once was an MVP, and it still is an elite runner. So I don't think he deserves to be in the bad tier, but I'm going to put him in the tier. Now, Mac Jones, we're going to also put him in because we don't know how good he's going to be. So let's just leave it at that. I don't think, with what Cam's done in his career, I don't think he deserves to be in the bad tier, but he's definitely moved down. He once upon a time was in a way higher tier. So next we have Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback of my favorite team, Jacksonville Jaguars. Kind of like with Zach Wilson and Mac Jones and maybe Justin Fields, we have no idea how good he's going to be. But because he's a generational talent, and if he's healthy, it looks like he's going to be a fantastic quarterback. And among all the rookie quarterbacks, I mean, he clearly was the best quarterback in his class, maybe the best quarterback prospect in the last decade, or maybe even since John Elway. So I don't think he should be ranked exactly with the other rookie quarterbacks. So I'm going to put him in pretty good already, but we have no idea, obviously, where he'll end up. I think there's a good chance he'll be very good or elite. I think he's going to be a Hall of Fame type player because obviously he has all the ability in the world, all the talent to do that. But just based on the hype, I'm gonna put him in pretty good. I think that's where he deserves to be right off the bat because of the abilities that he has shown. And last but not least, we have Baker Mayfield, the former first overall pick. I think is a very solid quarterback. I'm gonna put him in pretty good as well. I think he's right above average. You want to put him at average, maybe a little bit above average, I think is where Baker Mayfield belongs. I think if he makes strides and becomes very good or elite, which he still can because he's still young, he once was the first overall pick, then the Browns might be a Super Bowl contender because I really like that Browns offense and their defense. I think they're a very balanced team. So Baker Mayfield is already a pretty good quarterback, but we'll see. Maybe he can make strides and even improve another tier or two. We'll see. But anyways, guys, that's going to be the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Again, let me know your opinions in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, maybe leave a like and subscribe if you're a big sports fan. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and you guys take care.